Sadly, it's official. Odell Beckham has torn his ACL. He is out for the season, out for your fantasy teams. So what does that mean? What can you do if you have Odell Beckham? What's the fantasy fallout? What does it mean for the Browns? Stay tuned. I'm going to tell you. Hey, before we get to that though, if you like fantasy football and you like winning at fantasy football, then you need to hit that subscribe button right now. Click that bell notification because we're bringing you content to help you win and have more fun at fantasy football every single day on this channel. You don't want to miss it. All right, well, let's get right into it. So yeah, some unfortunate news. It's been confirmed by the Browns that Odell Beckham Jr. indeed tore his ACL when making a tackle on a Baker Mayfield interception. So obviously, if you got Odell Beckham in season long, drop him, dynasty, hold him, of course. But what does this mean? Like, what can you do if you have Odell? What's the pivot here? What can you do? And what does it mean for the entire Browns passing attack? So let's take a look at that. Let's jump right into it. So if we look at yesterday's game against the Bengals, Rashard Higgins and Jarvis Landry each had 6 targets. Harrison Bryant, the tight end, had 5. Donovan Peoples-Jones had 4, including that spectacular game-winning touchdown grab. Kareem Hunt also had 4, and David Njoku had 3. So obviously, let's start with the obvious ones, and that's Jarvis Landry. This helps Jarvis Landry to some extent. The guy's been battling through a rib injury. He had hip surgery in the offseason. He's just not 100%. It's obvious. But I think now he presents you with a bit safer floor week to week because he more than likely will be Baker Mayfield's #1 target option now. Doesn't have that big playability at the moment. Doesn't have the huge ceiling at the moment. Maybe as his health gets better, that changes down the road. But for right now, look at Jarvis Landry as a safe floor play. As somebody who has Jarvis Landry in one league, I know he has not been a safe floor play this year, which is weird because that's usually what we think of when we think of Jarvis Landry. He hasn't been that way, but I think he will be now because he should be in line for, 6, 8, maybe even 10 targets some weeks. So definitely carries a safe floor. Now let's look at the other, kind of obvious option, and that would be Austin Hooper. Even though Austin Hooper was out this week, last minute, I think he had appendicitis, had his appendix removed. According to reports, he shouldn't miss another game. He should be back this week. Now, it's easy to look and say, like, well, Harrison Bryant, 2 touchdowns. David Njoku, a touchdown. But here's the thing. When Austin Hooper is healthy, he's the main tight end. The only reason Njoku and Bryant were able to do what they did yesterday was because Hooper was out. Hooper had been trending up for weeks. And I always talk about one of the things that I don't think a lot of fantasy players realize is when a team's #1 wide receiver goes down, the person who usually benefits the most is the tight end, right? Is the tight end, because it's not like these other wide receivers are going to come in and just take all those targets. They're going to take some of them, sure, and we're going to talk about those guys. But a lot of times those targets go to the tight end. So I think this is a big boost for Austin Hooper. If you have Austin Hooper, sit tight. Hopefully he plays this week, and you should be able to roll him out with confidence going forward every single week. Now, Bryant and Njoku, again, when Hooper's out, Bryant had been out snapping and out targeting Njoku, and that continued in this game. So I do think if you're looking for a really deep option, Bryant is somebody you can look at because the Browns do want to run a lot of 2 tight end sets, especially now that Odell is out. They're going to want to run a lot of 2 tight end sets, run the ball. Chubb should be back in a few weeks, and that's what their offense is going to be. So if you're desperate at tight end and you're in a deeper league, you could look at Bryant as a deep league play. Njoku, not feeling great about him. You got to hope he gets traded, I think, if he's going to have any value. Now let's flash over to the wide receivers, and let's start with Rashard Higgins. Now, Rashard Higgins has been on the Browns, it seems like, for 10 years. I don't know. It seems like he's been on the team forever. He's had some breakout moments. He's had some big games. So he's got that rapport with Baker Mayfield. And we saw it yesterday. Everybody's going to look at that Peoples-Jones highlight, that game-winning touchdown, and think, oh, he's the guy I got to get. But really, Rashard Higgins, I think, is the next man up here for the Browns. Again, 6 targets, tied for the team lead with Landry. So I think he's the guy who he's the big play guy. He's the guy that I think Baker Mayfield's going to be looking at the most outside of Landry. I look at them as like the 1A, 1B kind of role now, right? So if you lost Odell Beckham, Higgins I think is a pretty good pivot. Especially, you know, Odell wasn't giving you like those Odell games that we're used to or we'd like to be getting from him. So I think Rashard Higgins is a pretty good pivot there. If you need a replacement and your waiver wire is barren. Now, Pierre is going to drop his wide receiver waiver wire video later today. So maybe you can look at some of those options. But if you're desperate, if there's nobody on your wire, I think Rashard Higgins will give you decent weekly upside with a decent weekly floor as well. And then, of course, let's talk about the last one, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Again, had that great touchdown catch. Incredible catch, right? Just a great catch. But again, if we look at it, 4 targets, 3 catches. So yeah, he, you know, not going to be quite as involved as Landry or Higgins. Definitely is going to have some upside, but he's also going to have a lower floor than those guys. So not really a guy I'd be targeting, maybe as a bench stash in deeper leagues, but that's really about it. Now, when we look at who got the touchdown opportunities, obviously Peoples-Jones got the touchdown, right? But it was a long pass from, I think it was from like outside the 20. Not the type of thing that's going to happen every single week. We want to look for those guys who are getting the ball around the goal line, around the end zone, because that gives us the best chance to score. So no shock here. Harrison Bryant led with 2 targets in the red zone, which again, and David Njoku had 1. So it was 3 red zone targets to tight ends, which is why I like Austin Hooper so much, because not only is he going to give you value between the 20s, but he's going to give you potential touchdown upside every single week in this offense. So yeah, 3 red zone targets to the tight ends, 1 red zone target to Kareem Hunt, but I mean, Kareem Hunt, you either have him or you don't. It doesn't really matter there. And then Jarvis Landry was the only receiver to see a red zone target. And that kind of goes with the history of Baker and Landry. We have seen Baker look to Landry in the red zone close to the goal line. So again, I think that Landry does bring you a nice safe floor. A little bit of a touchdown upside there, but not so much. But I do expect a big bump for Austin Hooper when he's healthy, which I think he will be this week. Harrison Bryant, look at him in deeper leagues because, again, he's going to have touchdown upside. Mayfield loves throwing to those tight ends in the red zone, as we saw yesterday. So there you go, guys. There's my reaction to Odell. It sucks, of course, losing a player like Odell. But it is what it is. Injuries are a part of the game. If you have Landry, you can start plugging them in as a safe floor play. Just don't expect a huge ceiling or upside. Higgins, I think, is a great pickup if you just lost Odell and there's nobody really on your waiver wire at this point. I think Higgins will give you plenty of weekly value to be startable every single week. Peoples-Jones in deeper leagues, bench stash, potential upside guy, could get more work as the season goes on. We'll see. Of course, Hooper, lock and load Hooper every single week now. And Harrison Bryant in deeper leagues if you really need a tight end. All right, guys, I hope that helped you out. Hopefully, you survived the Odell injury, still won your week. It's not over. You can still rebound from this, especially with Odell, right? You can still win your league. Again, if you haven't yet and you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button. We're helping you win and have more fun at fantasy football. If this was helpful, hit that thumbs up. It really helps, I guess, with the YouTube algorithm, so they say. And of course, if you have questions about anybody, any potential Odell replacements, trades, waiver wire pickups, drop those in the comments. I'd be happy to chat with you and help you out with that. All right, guys, I hope this helped you out, and I'll see you next time.